Welcome back to my channel. Today I will be doing my labor and delivery story time. If you are new, please subscribe. If you see me looking away, looking down, I'm looking at the paper I have with my key points to tell you guys about. So let's get into it. When I was in labor on the 9th, I was having a contraction on the 19th. I had waited all night. I had went to the hospital on the 20th. I get to the hospital, they check to see if I'm dilated. They said I'm at 2 centimeters. And so they admitted me. They kept me. I saw them there all day. And they eventually let us go at 9 o'clock. Remind you, I'm there all day. I didn't eat because I thought I was having the baby. I didn't eat. My boyfriend didn't eat. So we were sitting there all day for nothing. They poked me. They left a bruise on my, big bruise on my arm. Everything like that. And I'm like, that's crazy because that's ridiculous. I should not have been here all day. If you knew I was only 2 centimeters, you could have just sent me home. So my mom and dad come pick me and my boyfriend up at 9 o'clock. And we get home, and I'm up all night again. On the 20th, the night of the 20th, I was up all night. So on the 21st, I go back to the hospital at 8 in the morning. And they check to see if I'm dilated, and I'm at a 4. Remind you, when I was at home, I was in pain, I was crying, I was having back labor, my back was so bad, I was throwing up. I scared my brother because I was crying so bad. So yeah, I get to the hospital and they're like, okay, you're 4 centimeters, now we have to keep you. So they cut me. And I got in the shower because like the warm water was running on my back and it helped. And then I had got the epidural. It was so bad, I was crying, like it was crazy. So they're like to my boyfriend, you can't be in the room because if you get nervous, she can get nervous, she can jump, the epidural can slip, it can hurt her. So they give him this pager and he goes to the waiting room and they're like, when she's done, we'll page you. So I'm sitting on the table like this, the bed, and they're like, okay, you're gonna feel a pinch. So she does it and I didn't even feel it and I'm like, are you done yet? And she's like, it's done already, you didn't feel it? No. And I'm like, my feet are going numb and I'm like, it's crazy. And so they're like, okay, you're okay, that's supposed to happen. I'm like, all right. So then I finally got sleep. Like that was the first time I had sleep in 2 days. And this was at like 11 o'clock. So so then they're like, okay, um, you're okay now. So they leave and they're like, we'll be back in to check you in a little while. So I'm like, okay. They come back in around, I would have to say 12 o'clock. And they're like, you're 6 centimeters dilated. You're doing so good. I'm like, okay. And I fell back asleep after they were done checking me and all this. And they're like, okay. And all right. And I'm like, I look over, my boyfriend's sleeping, I'm sleeping. So we're both sleeping. Like, I fell back to sleep after I looked over at him. And they come in and they're like, you need to turn on your side because you're not dilating quick enough. And they put this ball in between my leg, which helps you dilate. And so they're like, okay, you're doing amazing. Okay, whatever. And they're like, we're gonna come back in and check you in a little while. So at like 2 o'clock, they came in. They checked me. I was still at a 6. I was at a 6.5 actually. And they broke my water. And they're like, okay, now it's gonna start getting quicker. The contractions are closer together. I didn't feel contractions at all. They're like, okay, you're gonna go. They left. So at like 5:45 ish, I had woken back up. And I'm like, something does not feel right at all. And I look over at my boyfriend and I'm like, something's not right. And he's like, what's wrong? Are you okay? And so I had pushed the button for the nurse to come in. And she's like, what's going on? And I'm like, something isn't right. And she's like, what do you mean something's not right? And I'm like, I have to push. And so she checks me and she's like, you're at a 10. His head's right there. You're doing so good. And I'm like, okay, that's a good thing, isn't it? And she's like, yeah, your son will be here soon, whatever. And so we wait. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, what did she say? She was like, you're doing so good. And I'm like, all right. And she's like, when I say push, you push 3 times and you stop. So I'm like, okay. So she's like, if you need to push, just push. And she's like, you're doing 5 push, you're pushing 5 times through one contraction. Most women only do 3. You're so strong. And I'm like, thank you. And my boyfriend looked like he was gonna pass out. And he's like, I look at him, I'm like, are you okay? Like, I'm asking him if he's okay, and I'm not labor. But yeah, he was so supportive through everything. And my son was born at 6:26 p.m. and he was 7 pounds 4 ounces. And I'm like, oh my god, I have such a big baby. I didn't think he was gonna be so big. So yeah, and then they're like, okay, once everything is done, we're gonna switch rooms. You're gonna go to the postpartum. Like, they give him shots. I hear him crying. I felt so bad. They took the epidural out, and I'm so exhausted. I fell back to sleep. And then they would get to the postpartum room, and I finally was able to eat. They brought me a sandwich, and they brought me yogurt, and my son is so adorable. He's so cute. Like, he's so little. I wish I could show you him right now, but he's sleeping, so we'll give him that. But yeah, so I'm probably gonna be posting videos every Thursday and like Tuesdays and Thursdays. It'll be a little later because work, but yeah. If there's any videos you want to see or request, just comment down below and I'll create those videos. Thank you. Please subscribe to my channel. Is there anything else? Thank you for watching.